Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Goddess Complex. I guess you would call this like the sub episode of the Goddess Complex. We're here for Astrology After Dark, my friends. I think this is our favorite time of the month when we get to sit here and record for it. If you are new here, welcome home. If you're old here, welcome back. I'm here with Dani, that witch next door. Say hi to the people, girl.
Hey people, I'm so excited to be here and talk some more astrology with you. This will be fun today.
Yeah. The Astrology After Dark episodes have been so damn fun. I've been really enjoying them. I hope you all have too. Keep your suggestions coming. Today, I'm really excited for this one. We're talking Jim Carrey.
This was a good, unique suggestion that I wasn't expecting to get from the audience, and I'm so glad it came to us
I
from
mean,
the
it
audience.
makes sense. I loved Jim Carrey's work growing up. I've seen most of his stuff.
Same.
Yeah, right. Like us being born, as like 90s kids, I think all 90s kids grew up. Jim Carrey was like the dude in the
Totally.
90s. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Mhm.
And then when he transitioned from like comedy into like darker drama, I was like so into it.
Yeah.
He got like super edgy. And now it's like Jim Carrey is known as this whistleblower almost of like really pulling back the veil of some darker agendas that are going on in Hollywood and with the government. And whether you think he's crazy or whether you think he makes a lot of sense, either way, he's got something to say.
Oh, yeah. And a fascinating birth chart to go right along with it.
So fascinating.
Mhm.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
You all know, if you don't already, we went visual. Dun, 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 dun. So you can watch this on YouTube if you want to see the visuals and you want to like see what aspects we are pointing out. Other than that, you can just go ahead and listen in. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's pull this up. Let's talk Jim Carrey. I'm
Yes.
so like fascinated by him.
First of all, Scorpio rising right off the bat made so much sense.
Yeah.
So much sense with this, how Jim Carrey once presented himself, like in the 90s, like you talked about,
Yeah.
versus now feels very Scorpio to
Oh, 100%.
me.
Like what's done in the dark is going to come to the light. Like he's been holding on to secrets for a while
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's just over it. And I'm not even sure that we would call them secrets. I guess things that we all knew but didn't want to say. So like that one interview he did with one of the fucking Jimmys. I can't keep up. I don't
Jimmy
really
kills
watch
Kimmel. Because I
Kimmel.
will
Yeah.
never
With
forget
the
that
thing.
clip. Yeah. Yeah. I remember. I've seen
And
that clip a million
a
times.
million times. And it's like, because of Jim Carrey's personality, sometimes it's hard to deduce whether he's trolling you or whether he's dead ass.
Trolling you, dead ass. Are you in a character? Is this
Yeah.
just straight up real?
Right.
Yes. On your
It's
toes all the time.
on your toes, on your
So
toes.
Scorpio, again, so Scorpio rising. You'll
Very
never
Scorpio.
know.
You'll never fucking know.
And
What
who's
do you
right there
think?
on the ascendant?
I was just going to say, what do you think about this bad boy? So we've got Neptune right there on the ascendant, but like, I mean,
It's so
he's in
good.
the
Yeah.
he's in the 12th,
Yeah. So
you
Neptune's
know?
still technically in the 12th. But on top of that ascendant, only 2 degrees apart from each other. So this is a
So it's
really
still a
strong.
conjunction.
Oh yeah, and it's a strong one, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's my thing with Neptune. Neptune actually reminds me a lot of the moon card in tarot.
Well, yeah, for sure, for
There's
sure.
a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth in Neptune. We can learn some of the deepest secrets of our universe
Mm-hmm.
through our Neptune placement, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of illusion there to sift through.
Right.
A lot. And
Right.
this being right on top of that, but technically being in the 12th house, it feels like not only does Jim, like, we have, in order to access him, do we have to go through that Neptune filter?
Mm-hmm.
Everything Jim does goes through the Neptune filter first.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. I would totally agree with
Questions
that.
everything. Everything, everything.
100%. Which is funny that you say that, questioning everything with a Mercury sitting in Aquarius, right?
And that
The-
Saturn.
yeah. The planet of how we think and how we speak. One thing I found to be really interesting is we don't have very many strong trines. You've got two trines here, and the strongest one here is Mercury trine his Gemini moon, but it's also squared off with his ascendant and Neptune.
Big time. And Jupiter's
Yeah,
there amplifying all of this. Jupiter is
right,
exactly conjunct his Mercury. And
right.
Jupiter, for anyone new, is this ever expander and
Yeah.
amplifier. So it kind of blows all of that up even more.
Mm-hmm.
The
And makes it
Gemini
even
moon,
bigger.
the Neptune on top of the ascendant in Scorpio, plus the Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn in Aquarius. No wonder he is so naturally inquisitive. He probably, if in fact, as soon as I say that, I think he goes through and we witness him go through really distrusting times.
Oh my God. I think he distrusts this whole system. I mean, he said it himself, none of it's real.
First of all, what comes to mind but the Truman Show?
Right.
So if you haven't seen the Truman Show, by the way, get the fuck in. You need to see that yesterday.
Like,
Okay,
yeah,
you need to see the Truman Show yesterday for a million reasons.
it
But
was fucked.
from what I know, the Truman Show fucked with him a little bit.
That's what I heard too, that it fucked with him, like probably a lot of it. I mean, well, if you think about it, is it all a simulation? We may get
Exactly.
a little deep here, guys. So, follow us if
It's
you
Jim
will.
Carrey. We have to.
It's Jim Carrey, but he does make you question what is reality. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
some of the questions he poses are questions that we ask ourselves all the time in the spiritual community, right? What is real? We talk about aliens, we talk about the dark agenda, we talk about the Akashic records, we talk about astral travel, right? But only some of us have experienced some of these things and not all of us. And so a lot of us inside of this community are trusting that there are things that we don't know about that we can't see. What the fuck is the eighth dimension? What is the third dimension? Is this a real dimension? Is this a real dress that I'm wearing? Right? Are we in a fucking simulation? Is the universe a hologram? A lot of people would tell you it is. And I'm in that
Neptune,
camp.
Neptune, and what it represents. The whole definition of spirituality and faith
Right.
literally requires trust.
Right.
It is not meant to be proven. It's not
Right.
meant to be. It requires a level of belief, and that
Mm-hmm.
does not sit well with most people because our brains are so fucking analytical.
Right.
But then you add in all this inquisitive air energy that Jim
Mm-hmm.
Carrey has. It's an insatiable thirst for knowing the real truth and getting proof, but deep down knowing that that will never ever ever come, and you just get to choose what you believe or not. And I think that fucks with some people, and I think that that has fucked with him a lot.
I think so too. I was looking at some TikToks on him the other day to prepare for this podcast, and he's aged, he's not the same Ace Ventura. And it made me think of like, he's been in this game for fucking decades.
Mm-hmm.
Like the elbows that he's rubbed, the conversations that he's been privy to, especially as a cis white male,
Yeah.
like the conversations that he has been privy to. There's a reason why he's coming at us so goddamn hard. And Gemini moon, my partner's got a Gemini moon. They just are cutthroat with the tongue sometimes. They say whatever the fuck they want. And when you look at the way Jim Carrey moves in public situations, He doesn't give a fuck who looks at him crazy. He does not care.
Mm-mm.
He is going to say what he wants to say, and whoever is going to listen is going to listen. And if they don't listen, then they're boo boo the fool, not him. And
Exactly.
that's what makes me want to listen to him more because I'm like, clearly, you know some shit.
Oh yeah. First of all, I have never been one to just turn the other cheek and go, "Oh, they're fucking crazy."
Right, right.
People start calling you crazy, and I'm probably gonna listen and pay attention a little more.
Literally.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna automatically give you all the credit and say 100% you're right or whatever.
Hmm.
But when the crowd starts saying, "Don't listen to him, he's fucking crazy," I'm gonna listen a lot more.
A lot more. I
Yes.
need to know why. Why do you think he's crazy?
Yes.
What unsettles you about what he has to say?
Yes.
Hmm.
What is making you uncomfortable? Because that's what I want to listen to. That's what I want to hear.
Hmm.
Gemini gets this reputation, honestly, for being liars, and I disagree with it. I think that Gemini knows how to put the spin on a situation because I think they're wordsmiths. But I
Yeah,
actually find them to be truthful to a fault. I think
I
it's
agree.
opposite. I think it's opposite. And
I
then
think so
people don't
too.
fucking like that, and people go, "Oh, you're just manipulative."
Right. I don't think they're manipulative or liars. I think Gemini moons can be just quite direct with the tongue and they can be a bit softer in their verbiage.
Yes,
That's what I think.
and they're master adapters.
Hmm.
Sure, being adaptive could spin into somebody being manipulative, but actually a more accurate representation of that just quintessential Gemini adaptation is look at the character range Jim Carrey has.
Isn't it crazy?
It's
It's
massive.
insane. He
Hardly
has
any
depth and
actors touch
range.
that. Yes,
Oh
hardly
my
any.
God.
Mhm, exactly. And
Speaking of
that is
which,
fascinating to me.
well, that was one thing that I definitely want to point out, which, is obvious for some, but maybe not for others, but just a really quick learning lesson here. Look at our midheaven and our North Node and True Node right here in Leo. Like this man was made for it. He was made to be on stage. He was made to be
Yeah.
seen. He was made
Yep.
to be shown. He was made to have this depth and this range. And then going down here, we're looking at a nice little stellium and Capricorn, that hard ass working energy, right? So when we're looking at these two energies, you've got the goat, the ram, or the goat that is always like, I got to work hard. I got to put my head to the ground, my nose to the ground in order to be seen as somebody who has achieved something. And then that Leo, that I'm here, look at me go. I wouldn't be surprised if, as a child, he was very much a performer, very much, I need the
Was.
attention on me. Yeah,
If
yeah, there you
you've
go.
watched him in some interviews about his childhood, he was. And he put
Yeah,
on, he would, this is classic Gemini, Moon, and Aquarius stellium stuff. He absorbed what he observed and was a
um,
master performer. That's what I mean about Gemini being so adaptive. They're
right.
master mimickers. That's why if you meet Geminis, they like major placements in Gemini, they are excellent in cosplay and acting and impressions and
You want to know
because
something wild? Another learning lesson. Like I said, my partner's a Gemini moon. He mimics me all the time
yeah,
in my
I have a
English.
Gemini Mars and I have
Yeah,
always yes,
yeah. All
right.
the time. I always say boo. You all know that. He's saying boo now. We'll wake up in the morning. He'll be like, "Good morning, boo. Hi, boo." And like, and that's when he say that. He mimics me all the time, and my little isms, my Ashley isms.
Yes. Now,
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought up the Leo MC and North Node, okay? Because if we were looking at any old chart, set Jim Carrey aside for a second, if we were
right.
looking at that, it would look a whole different way than Jim Carrey shows up with it. And the reason why he is seen and in such a public eye, but in the total like unorthodox, unpredictable way is that 29-degree fucking Uranus in Leo right there at the MC2, which is in the 10th house technically. And I think that this gives it really amplifies. Yeah, look how close that is to the MC.
Ooh.
That
And
amplifies this, like, I'm gonna just stir the pot.
I'm gonna do it
To
different. I'm
shake
gonna
the
shake it
fuck
up.
up. Yep, because guess
Hmm.
what? This is the truth, and I don't really care how it hits you, babe. Here the fuck it
Literally,
is. Mm-hmm.
I don't care how it hits you. And I'm telling you guys, if you guys haven't checked in on Jim Carrey in a while, do a deep dive because that's exactly what he's giving in
Yeah.
his older age now.
Yeah.
He gives no fucks at how it hits you. He's just over the bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's over the bullshit and he's done being quiet about it.
He's one of my favorite actors to
Mine
watch
too.
get asked questions by the press because he will not play their game. He'll answer the
No.
questions. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He'll answer their questions, but he will not play the game.
No. No, he won't.
And I don't think he used to play the game, but I think he got around it in that Gemini Moon way
I
by
would
getting
agree
to
that he
play
got around it.
character and dance around it and joke
I mean,
around it.
think about it. You never really saw him in a scandal.
You
You never,
never saw him. You never knew if it
no,
was, is this really Jim Carrey? Does the comedian ever turn off? And we didn't really see that happen until, I agree, until he crossed over into his old age.
exactly,
Into his
exactly.
crone energy. That's what we have to understand.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his crone, in his elder phase,
Right.
and something happens to us with that.
Where you just don't give a fuck
You
anymore.
don't give a fuck. You have this wisdom from your experience and what you've
Mm-hmm.
seen and what you've witnessed. And for how big he's made it in Hollywood, you know he's seen some fucking shit.
I would love to be a fly on the wall,
Oh yeah.
like, and have a conversation with him. Like, if I could interview anybody, you know, Jim Carrey is up there, at least top
Totally.
two, just because he is so honest and forthright. Like, if I could interview anybody of like power, they would probably give me this very surfacey answer for a lot of my questions. And Jim Carrey is somebody who's going to give it to you fucking raw.
Oh yeah.
And like, I want to know because some of the same theories this man has, we have seen, we believe in, or we've heard, especially in the spiritual community. This isn't the first time we've heard about the dark agenda. This isn't the first time we've heard about sipping on the motherfucking Kool-Aid to get rich and famous.
Yep.
This isn't the first time we've heard about this stuff. But Jim Carrey he's repeating it. He's making sure we hear it. He's
And he
making
doesn't
sure that we
sugarcoat
know.
it.
No.
He just like
No,
puts, and I think that makes people feel so fucking unsettled. And
I
that's
think
where it's
so
like,
too.
he's just crazy. He's just losing it.
Right. No, I don't think he's
So
losing it.
have you seen A, The Man in the Moon? His
A
movie.
long
Okay.
time ago.
B, did you ever see the documentary about that on Netflix?
No.
Called Andy and Me. I'll
No,
find
but
it
I
right
need to
now.
watch it.
It's called Jim and Andy. Okay. I'm so excited to introduce you to this. Okay.
Please do.
Quick rundown for anybody who hasn't seen The Man in the Moon, one of his most genius fucking works ever. It is a biopic of Andy Kaufman, who was a comedian,
Mm-hmm.
fascinating human in a scary similar way to Jim Carrey. Scary
Mm-hmm.
similar. Where people around and close to Andy never really knew, is this Andy? Is it not? Is this a character? Is this a villain?
Right.
Andy Kaufman had this fascination for people's reactions. He
Yeah.
wasn't like most comedians where it was all about the laughs and the laughs only. It was actually much more about observing just the reactions of people from what I've inferred. Okay, this is my own inference. But so when they did this biopic of Andy Kaufman, they cast Jim Carrey. First of all, go just look right now on your phone while you're listening to this, pictures of Andy Kaufman and Jim Carrey. And
I'm
tell
gonna do it
me
right
that
now.
you don't believe in reincarnation. Number one.
I'm
Number
gonna watch this
two,
movie tonight.
please do. It's on Netflix, okay? It's called Jim and Andy The Great Beyond. That movie made me cry. It made me love Jim Carrey even more than I already did. Jim got so into his method acting and into his character that, from what I remember, it was several years ago that I watched this. He did not break character out of Andy for, I believe, a year, like the entire time they were filming. And then when they were filming, or when they were premiering, and he was out of character by then, from what I know, Jim never let himself go back into Andy ever again.
Really?
He went too deep. He went so far. He went so deep to the point where and he kind of insinuates this, and I believe him because of my own spiritual beliefs. I think he was channeling Andy.
Yeah.
Very in real time, borderline what a no offense, uneducated spiritually person would call possession. That's how it's either that or he literally is Andy Kaufman fucking reincarnated. That's how crazy.
Oh my God, I'm so fascinated right now.
I can't wait for you to watch this.
No,
Anyway,
but I mean, I obviously in our community, we believe that you can channel individuals.
yes.
And I've always been fascinated by method
wait for you to
acting.
watch this because I'm not going to spoil what he says about this.
No, I'm gonna watch it tonight.
It's very, very fascinating. And then let me throw a really crazy spin on it. Because Andy Kaufman was so known for like the most outrageous bits and characters and like shit he would pull on people. To this day, there are people that theorize he didn't actually die. And that
Girl, let me make sure I'm looking at this right. But I just Googled Andy Kaufman and it's saying born on January 17th.
They might mention that in the
That they have the same birthday? Holy shit.
they might mention that in the actual movie. And yeah, 1949. But died, and people to if
He
you're one
died
of those
so
people,
young.
I know. If you're one of those people that are about to be like, but he died after Jim Carrey was born, you need to understand. Thank you. You need to understand the way that time works is not linear. The way that we're
It's
all
not linear. Time is not linear, friends.
We are
not linear.
Can live multiple timelines all the fucking time, all at once. I was able to witness a timeline during a past life regression for myself. I was able to witness a timeline that crossed over, and while I was under hypnosis was asked how, in a gentle way, like, how is it possible? If I knew that I had a life going on at this time, how could I know that I was in your timeline in a whole different area, this part of the world? And I channeled it. I'll never forget. I was like, because that's how it works.
Right.
It's not linear. It's not an on-off button. Our lives,
right.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
I encourage everybody, even if you've seen it, I encourage you to
watch it again through this lens.
Going into it with this spiritual lens, because it will just turn on all those really important curiosity centers in you that I honestly think that's one of the purposes I believe that Jim Carrey serves for us in this life. He gets us to fucking question and stop just bottling up the fucking bullshit.
He gets us to fucking question. That's a Scorpio rising all day.
He might not give you the answer. He might not say, oh, here's the neat and tidy answer. Now you can go sleep well at night. No, it'll probably keep you up forever and you might never get the answer. But he gets you to fucking question and to stop just fucking eating that shit up.
I totally agree.
That's important.
It is incredibly important. I am just fascinated. I'm literally going to pop an edible and watch that tonight.
I am so,
I am. I am.
In real time.
But yeah, I will. I am definitely going to text. Wild shit. I'm gooped. No, the neck, I'm just digesting. It's crazy. I want to dig a little bit into Chiron and Pisces. So I don't know about you, but a lot of my audience loves Chiron talk, and because Chiron's fascinating, you know what I mean?
I also have several humans in my life that have Chiron and Pisces that were born.
Great, because
many a chart.
I have several humans in my life with Chiron in Cancer, myself included, or Chiron in Taurus, I've noticed. For whatever reason, those individuals that are in my circle, that tends to be where their Chirons are.
You know what my other main one is Chiron and Gemini. I know a fuck ton of Chiron and Gemini.
Chiron and Geminis. That's
Most people that
interesting.
have booked a reading with me, if I like looked at the demographic and totaled up all their charts and asked
Yeah.
them out, that probably I guarantee the majority of them would have Chiron and Gemini.
It's Chiron and Gemini. Interesting. Okay. So for those of you who are like, what are they talking about? So this is Chiron. It's this circle with this like K looking figure above it, right? And so Chiron is known as the wounded healer in astrology. When we're looking at the birth chart, you can often look at your Chiron to find some of your deeper soul wounds. Whenever I'm looking at somebody's chart and we go into Chiron talk, I always kind of preface it with, we might get a little sensitive here, safe space. That tends to be like, the Chiron placement tends to be that like, ooh, girl, why'd we have to go there? And again, we create our birth chart. So the way that I've chosen to look at it is my Chiron placement. This is a specific pain point that I really chose, that I really, really, really wanted to work through, dare I even say master in this life. Should I allow myself to? Because at the end of the day, we do all have free will, right? So, I mean, a Chiron in Cancer is really about self-love at the end of the day. We could talk all day about it, but that's really the meat, that's the juice of it. And so it's like, somebody with a Chiron in Cancer, do you want to master self-love, or do you want to succumb to self-hatred? And we could again go all day about it. Tons of book recommendations, DM us. I'm sure we both have a plethora. But Jim Carrey, I found this to be interesting. So his Chiron sits in the fourth house, the house of home, and it's also in Pisces. And as we know, Pisces is this super ethereal, spiritual, martyr type of sign. When we are talking Piscean energy, we are talking like eighth dimension. We are talking 5D. We are talking galactic codes, Akashic records, and shit. We are talking really, really, really deep spiritual lineages whenever we're talking Piscean energy. And then whenever we get to the planetary point or asteroid is when we can kind of understand what we mean by that. And so I find it to be interesting that it's his Chiron that sits here in the fourth house of home in Pisces. How do you feel?
So it makes, when he crossed that threshold from being what was portrayed and received by the public as,
Right.
with that Leo MC, because that's
Right.
what the MC is, how the
Right.
public sees and perceives you. The
Right.
public, not just you day to day, the world. And
Yes.
that's a major placement for celebrities. So if you
Right.
are people that are like us and you like looking at celebrity charts, you need to look at that MC. It's hugely activated for celebrities. When we watch this crossing of the threshold from America's goofball, he can never take life seriously.
America's goofball, that he was known as that. Yeah.
You don't know how many interviews back then the host would say, do you know how many times Jim Carrey has heard, are you ever serious?
Seriously, all the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jim Carrey interviews. But when he crossed over from America's goofball into this new unknown, which by the way, he just finished his second Saturn return. I just
Ooh, honey child.
Saturn in Aquarius. So I just want to say, when we saw him cross over into this questioning, what some might call a conspiracy theorist, I really saw that Chiron and Pisces
light up.
Highlighted. Yes. A whole new, so he, if you don't already know, he really started embracing art making.
Yeah.
And
he did.
And I see this as a way that his Pisces Chiron being activated and his way of moving through that activation and processing it and expressing that. Our Chiron, if you learn about Chiron's mythology, Chiron doesn't just have trauma that he was born with. He also, at the end of his life, has further trauma. And the whole point of that in astrology is to show us, and in that archetypal journey is to show us, number one, everybody has trauma. everyone,
Mm-hmm.
there is no escaping it. I don't give a fuck how privileged, how great
Mm-hmm.
of a life you think, or someone really does have, they have trauma, they have it. And not only that, it is never a one and done thing.
Ever.
It reactivates, or something else happens, or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is. And so I think we saw almost like that second coming of trauma and him dealing with it. And because he is a public figure, we watched all of this.
Right.
And because we don't understand Jim Carrey, Scorpio rising,
Mm-hmm.
intentional on his part, he doesn't want to be understood. He doesn't
No.
want you to make sense of him.
It's obvious. Like when again, do a deep dive, my friends. It
Yes.
is so obvious that he's not trying to be understood. He could
No.
give two fucks whether or not we understand.
You.
He's gonna say what he said and he's gonna go about his business.
The more
I love it.
confused you are, the better. The more
I
confused,
love
the better.
it.
Exactly.
I love it.
That's the whole intention. Did he get you
Yeah.
the question in the first place? Mission
Right.
accomplished. Mission
Right.
accomplished.
Right.
So I really see this Pisces Chiron. Number one, I think that the way he started really embracing artwork was a way of him processing through trauma, working through and expressing it. And I see a lot of that as this like big second soul searching for him.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of life? If you know other people with Pisces Chiron, there is this give and take, this push pull relationship with spirituality.
Yes.
Pisces. I'm
Yeah.
called to it. I have this natural affinity to it.
Mm-hmm.
I suddenly feel terrified by it.
Right.
And
Confronted even by it.
ooh, great word.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to Jim Carrey and watching his interviews and then comparing them with each other, and you know that Gemini moon is just being matter of fact who he is the whole time, you can see that fear, that very natural human fear. It's that existential fear. That's
Yeah.
Pisces Chiron.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. I think as he's getting older, he is almost kind of allowing the Pisces Chiron to come through and take shape. And he's not allowing it to be confronted by him. Some of his thoughts and ideas that we see that are coming through now, they've always been there. He's always felt this way. I'm sure the first time Jim Carrey got his first fucking major gig, he realized how corrupt Hollywood was.
Totally agree. Yep, totally.
But you know, he kept being the face, being the comedian. As long as I'm doing what I love, as long as I'm making people laugh, no problem. And as you identified earlier, him entering into his crone energy, his elder energy, he is having this come to Jesus moment,
Yes.
pun intended, Pisces Jesus,
Yeah.
pun intended, you know, this come to Jesus moment and recognizing that some of this incredibly pertinent information needs to be given out to the masses. And not to get super conspiracy theorist with you all, but there is so much more going on than what we are privy to. And this whole new earth agenda that we're talking about, these awakenings that we're talking about, what we are truly saying to you all is to wake the fuck up. We are being controlled in a very deep level, from the food that we eat to the TV that we ingest to the clothing that we buy, from the detergent that we use. This is a whole fucking operation. And there are people,
curated.
it's all curated. And there are people like Jim Carrey who has made the decision to utilize his platform to let us fucking know.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to.
Listen to our first Astrology After Dark episode about Brittany, where we start talking about, because of the time we're living in, because of this time and era that we all fucking volunteered to usher in, by the way.
Right. We all volunteered to usher in this era.
Listening to this, we all fucking volunteered for this
sure
life
did.
incarnation. We volunteered to usher in this new era. And that means a major revelation of truth. An
Yeah. Pluto and
undeniable,
Aquarius.
thank you, an undeniable, inevitable truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look up the definition of inevitable and let
Yeah.
yourself be confronted with that. That's the
Yeah.
kind of era that we're ushering in.
We're ushering it in. I can feel it in my bones. And it's I want more people to do what this man is doing. But I do believe it does take entering into that crone energy
I
to
do.
just be like, what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose
Yes.
now. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
bought Britney's book. I haven't read it yet, but I know damn well she's not saying some of the shit Jim Carrey is saying, but I'll bet you she knows all about it. Like, I was
Oh
just looking at
yeah.
Britney's reel today, and I'm like, we don't even know what the fuck this woman is saying. And here she is, like 200,000 likes. What are you saying? Like, she's speaking in riddles.
And don't you guys think, can you step back for a second from those 200,000 likes, from those thousands, tens of thousands of comments,
Right,
just going, yes, girl, yes, yes, yes,
right,
yes, or just
right,
talking shit, either way.
right, right.
Can you step back from those and realize that most people just take all this information in at face value?
That's it.
And I think that most people like Jim Carrey that are letting us into the subterranean levels past
Yes,
the surface are saying, look deeper, ask
right,
questions. Stop.
right.
This is Truman Show shit, by the way.
It
This
is.
is
It's
a
very
hundred
much so.
percent fucking Truman Show
Very
shit.
much so Truman Show shit.
Yes.
It's wild.
Stop taking everything at face fucking value.
Hmm.
There is more, and you are being very purposefully led to believe there's not.
Exactly. And the one thing that you can trust is your own intuition. So many people come to me, come to you, come to other spiritual workers, and the top question, how can I trust my intuition more? How
Oh
do I
yeah.
know if I'm
Oh
making
yeah.
it up? How do I know? Babe, you were born with your intuition.
Mhm.
Like, you got to trust your intuition. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Stop trying to convince yourself it's a lion because TV told you it was.
Exactly.
It's a fucking duck. You're looking at the duck.
You
It's
have
not a
to look
lion.
at your intuition. You have to look at your relationship to your intuition as a
Hmm.
relationship that's been rusty.
Yeah.
Again, purposefully rusty.
Right.
We've been
Right.
separated and kept from our intuition for a very, very, very long time, but that doesn't mean it's not
Hmm.
there, and it does not mean it
Right.
can't be strengthened. That's how
Right.
you build trust. You want to know how you
Hmm.
build trust? You ask in your intuition and you believe it.
It's so true.
It's one little tiny micro trust after another until one of the biggest questions, I'm so glad you brought that up, that I get is, how do I know it's anxiety or how do I know it's intuition? And my
Right.
answer every time is practice.
Practice. Exactly.
Practice. That
Practicing with your intuition, strengthening your
yes.
cord with your oversoul. It's that whole thing. It's getting your meditations in, it's doing your journaling, it's sitting in the quiet, it's practice. It's making spirituality a lifestyle and not a hobby. And I think so many people are on that precipice where, you know, it's still a hobby. Like, I'm not
I
even gonna
agree.
hold you. There's
I
a lot
agree.
of people where
I
it's
agree.
it's still a hobby and they haven't transitioned over into making this an actual way of life. And I was actually just talking about this in one of my group calls. I was like, listen, I still get mad. I still overreact. Just because spirituality is a lifestyle choice doesn't mean I'm holier than thou. I still very much am having a human experience. And I think that's why people are so like afraid of making it a lifestyle choice, because I think in some weird way they subconsciously or consciously feel like they have to be curated and perfect to call themselves living a spiritual lifestyle,
Oh
when that couldn't
yeah.
be farther from the truth. You know what I mean?
Totally. And one of our deepest human, and some might say even soul based needs, is connection. And not
Yeah.
only connection, but approval from other people. So, this need to fit in, this need to be like other people, that makes it
Hmm.
hard. It makes it scary to embrace the lifestyle, to strike out on your own, to trust your
Hmm.
intuition. But my biggest tip for you is, both your anxiety and your intuition are technically here to try and protect you. But here's
Right.
the difference: Your anxiety is human based and human rooted, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only subject to what it knows in this life.
Right.
Your intuition is rooted in your soul. That's why it's never quote unquote wrong.
Right. So
Anxiety
true.
tries to be right. That's why it's in place. That's why our brain forms
It wants
that.
to be right. It's going to try
Yes.
every which way to be right.
Yes, but it's limited. It's so limited to this
Mm-hmm.
one experience. And we're trying to get you to open up to your soul experience. How can we do that if you can't see past the 3D, if you can't see past Earth, if you can't see
Right.
past the human? Once you cross that threshold, and I think this is where we watched Mr. Carey do this.
Yeah.
We watched
100%.
that. If you look back in my timeline, if you look back in Ashley's timeline, you can see where we crossed that threshold.
100%.
We came into this life
100%.
and had to reclaim and rediscover
Mm-hmm.
the kind of being we are at the soul of it, having this human experience like this.
Exactly. So well put. So well put.
I knew this episode was gonna get us to fucking go there. And that's
Yeah.
why I love him. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate what Jim
Mm-hmm.
Carrey does, because he gets us to put on our fucking thinking cap for once. And quite frankly, because most celebrities are part of the overall big game, their goal is to do the opposite and to tell
Right.
you what to think and to tell you what to believe and to make it fit neat and tidy with what the
Exactly.
media is telling you and what the government's telling you and what the food companies are telling you and what the
The
corporations are
pharmaceutical
telling you.
companies are
Yep,
telling you
yep,
what they're all telling
exactly.
you.
Yep.
Speaking of
But
telling you, friends, we should all just tag Jim Carrey. I want him to see this. So if you're listening, tag this motherfucker. Let's see if he'll listen to this. I think out of everybody we've done so far, I think Jim Carrey would be one who would really actually appreciate this conversation.
I hope so. I have
I
so
think
much
he would.
honor
I
in
think
my
he
heart for
definitely
Jim
would.
Carrey. So
I
much.
know that would be wild. It'd be like, oh my God, Danny, guess who emailed me?
We made it. We
We
made
made
it.
it. I love it. Before we close it out, is there anything else in his chart that you think we should point out really quick?
We like hit this one. We
We
hit our
did.
stride with this one. All I
We
will
did.
say is it makes sense. As soon as I saw that Capricorn stellium
Yeah.
with that Gemini moon, you can see why, again, and that Scorpio rising, we can see
Hmm.
why in his younger years he approached life the way he did. And now in his crone, in his elder phase, this Aquarius in him is activated. That Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, is fucking activated to not
Yes, he
give a
is.
fuck
This is probably
anymore.
my favorite point on his chart.
Same. So fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, this
Pluto
Uranus
and
conjunct
Virgo.
midheaven
Oh,
and
yeah.
Pluto and Virgo, and then just Uranus conjunct the midheaven, though. I mean,
At the
honestly,
critical degree, at
at a
29 degrees.
29, I think it's a very beautiful placement. And we're totally speaking astro garb right now, but like this is really legit like poetry to me.
I
Like
know.
just I well, if
Totally.
you're an astrologer, you know, but seeing
True.
Uranus conjunct the midheaven in Leo at 29 degrees is like, oh, it's
Yes.
fun. It's
Yes.
fun.
With the North Node in Leo
With the
right
North
fucking there
Node.
too. This is
Yeah.
soul purpose, baby.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure, for
Oh, I loved
sure.
this one. This was
Me
good.
too.
Good energy.
Me too. As always, friends, let us know. Give us suggestions of what you want for January. We have a little list going, but honestly, out of the list, we pick like what we're feeling. So
Oh yeah.
if
Keep it coming.
you, right, like if you have somebody or if you want to see more synastry, like we did with Kim and Courtney, let us know.
You can send us
And
characters.
oh,
Send
yeah,
us
you can totally
characters.
send us
Fictional
characters.
characters too.
Yeah, like
We'll dig some
you
shit up.
guys exactly. You guys know that I'm in a Lost rewatch right now. Like I can't wait to dissect some of those characters. So, yeah, totally great idea. And yeah, make sure you share the episode if you're
Yes.
feeling
Shout
so
us out.
called. Tag Jim Carrey. I'm gonna do it. So, who's gonna do it with me?
Yes.
And yeah, and tag us. Tag Danny that witch next door, tag Ashley Michelle 90. And as always, thank you for listening. And we will see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao for now.